Hello everyone. Hi. А можно микрофон? I forget to plug in the microphone. I will deal with this in a second. Oh, спасибо. Just a sec. And well, unfortunately, I can see there is some issues with the buffering straight away, which is quite unfortunate. But as you know, dear friends, I'm streaming through VPN, so therefore I just cannot do anything with that. So yes, sir. New week. Today is 26th of January. Now it's 6 o'clock in the evening Moscow time, and I have prepared a little news update with the latest news that Russian media, main news that Russian media reported during the day. And of course, as always, I will actively monitor chatter and if I see any questions, I will try to be as informative as I possibly can. And first of all, dear friends, let me share with you the latest news from Russian Defense Ministry, which is that well, Velika Novoselka settlement on South-Donetsk sector of the Frontline is liberated. I reported this morning that a number of sources were reporting that Russian troops actually established full control over the settlement. But you know, as I said in the first update, little more time was needed to make sure that settlement is really under full Russian control. And Defense Ministry this evening confirmed liberation of this settlement. Obviously, it is a big deal. It is a big deal because Russian troops now will have opportunity to choose basically which way they will continue offensive operations on the northern side or westwards towards Gulay Polya, or maybe in both directions. So this is definitely a big development. And dear friends, possibly tomorrow we will receive information that Toretsk is also under full Russian control. So this is obviously Velika Novoselka settlement. And now, well, if we take a look at the map, we can have informed guess that probably Russian northwards and from Velika Novoselka area, and simultaneously we might see offensive operations from let's say Yasinovo settlement, Novoelizavetovka, towards south, so that Russian troops will basically create yet another cold room for Kiev regime's forces in Andreevka and surrounding areas. Although I'm not military expert, how should I know? But it seems logical to create yet another cold room here. It might work. And as I said, dear friends, Russian troops most likely, Russian Defense Ministry most likely will report tomorrow or day after that Toretsk is also under full Russian control. Right now, battles are taking place for this most northern part of coal mine, and that's about it. Probably Toretsk is already under full Russian control. It's just confirmation is left. So significant progress of the Russian armed forces. And well, let's go through chat now. I just checked Patreon. There was nothing on Boosty. I can check Boosty right now. Once again, yes, nothing here in terms of questions. So I checked Patreon also, and one of the members of our community was commenting. It was more like comment, not necessarily question, that Russian, according to some sources, Russian military-industrial complex, Russian armed forces are focused now on mass production of the so-called turtle tanks or assault tanks. Well, I did not see any such news in Russian segment of media that Russian armed forces now will focus on mass production of these assault vehicles. Although obviously special military operation demonstrated that more protection, additional protection is needed for all types of vehicles, not just the tanks, but infantry fighting vehicles, armored personnel carriers, and so on. And one may even argue in which direction military-industrial complex will go from here. Will they focus on increasing armor on vehicles, or some other decisions will be made? And in my personal opinion, way to increase armor is a dead end, because there will be always drones, unmanned weapons, that aerial weapons that can take out whatever armor you will put on the vehicle. So therefore, in my personal opinion, in next years and decades, we will see further development of drone technology, including ground drones. And future conflicts probably mainly will be fought with the drones, because how much armor are you going to put on, let's say, Abrams tank, which is already heavy as hell, right? Soviet era tanks or Russian tanks are relatively light, and there is some potential to add some more armor, some more protection, but first of all, it will make them heavier. And we already have example of Western battle tanks, right? Main battle tanks, Abrams, Challenger 2, Leopard 2s. What they did manage to achieve on the battlefield? Nothing. They are as vulnerable for FPV drones as relatively light Soviet or Russian tanks, right? So I think to comment on this question or commentary on Patreon, I think way that military-industrial complex will go ahead is to develop more drones, not just aerial drones, but also ground drones, and future wars probably will be fought that way with the drones. Although obviously military personnel still will be needed, not just to operate with drones, but also on the ground to, conduct some additional operations. Let's go now. And dear friends, sorry that there is too many technical issues today. When I started the live stream, I didn't point out time, and it was my fault, absolutely. And some members of our community thought that I had some technical issues because live stream did not started at 4 o'clock or something. I just did not point out on YouTube's platform that live stream will start at 18 o'clock. So sorry about that technical error on my part. And members of our community, I can see comments, were wondering if I had some issues, blood pressure maybe or something, because I did not start the live stream. No, I'm okay. So let's go through chat now. I can see our craft is common, dear friends. Levan Gudadz's playlist 2022-2024. Your community might be interested to hear your favorite songs, so I put them all in one playlist. Maybe you can share it on your channel. Where is that playlist? Where I can see it? I myself interested what I was listening in last 2 years. Usually what I do, dear friends, this is community chat, isn't it? So I can we can have casual conversation. Usually, by the way, on Fridays I may, after work day, I might take a pint or two beer and I'm listening music, and that's the only time basically for years now that I may go to my Facebook channel, and on Facebook, because I no longer see Facebook as a platform where you can write anything seriously. Therefore, I'm either trolling or putting my music. Very rarely I'm publishing something of serious. And as I guess our crowd talk this playlist from music that he saw on on FB, on Facebook. It would be interesting, but when it comes to sharing video itself, I can share link. If you have somewhere this playlist, I can share link on my Telegram, but I cannot put video on my channel because of the rights. My channel can be smashed straight away if I upload any music without and I don't even know how it's done when music is playing, right? You have to have rights on the music or permission to publish, isn't it? Content that belongs to other creators. So I cannot publish music, but I can share link. Aura Crafter, Levang Dodze, favorite songs playlister. Anyone interested? Yes. Where I was. I listen to all kind of music. As we say in Russian, всеядный в этом плане, так что I can listen whatever, it depends on the mood, isn't it? On what mood you are. Sheunde Mamao, that's her nickname in Georgian, by the way. Levan Rachteba, question Rachteba is our WhatsApp in Georgian. Everything is good. So questions, dear friends. Obviously, it was a historical week, isn't it? Historical week because of this week is the first one in our second term of Trump. So therefore, obviously, many people are asking question how to react on his first steps, on his first statements as a president. And many people are very confused, by the way, including very active supporters of Trump. I mean, they have some questions. So Cisco Terrace is asking, how does most Russians enter military service, conscription or volunteering? Once in the military, can they choose to not be deployed to Ukraine? When you are signing up contract, I mean, it's you have to go in recruitment offices, I believe. And when you are there, you first will go medical checkup. Medical checkup. If you are okay for military service, then you will receive contract. And once you're signing contract, then it's a military, isn't it? I don't think you can choose where you want to serve. Only people that in no circumstances are deployed in zone of special military operation is the conscripts. Conscripts should not be there, but other militaries, I mean, they are signing up for military service, and majority are signing up contract. And for example, I believe today I reported about it in the first update, isn't it? That was crushed by YouTube's algorithm, by the way. Not surprisingly. Today I reported that according to Dmitry Medvedev, former Russian president and current deputy chairman of the Security Council, last year in 2024, about 450,000 people, by the way, just imagine 450,000 people sign up for Russian armed forces. They sign up, to serve. And they all got contracts, right? And in addition, about 40,000 people volunteered to serve in a zone of special military operation, right? So there is both options. You can be volunteer or you can sign a contract. And majority are choosing to sign a contract because, after all, everyone should understand that this is high intensity military conflict, and it's not just about quite high salaries that contractors are getting in Russian army. It's about also social security of your family, right? Because if anything happens to you when you have a contract with the armed forces, your family will receive compensations, right? Also significant sums. Obviously, it's nothing compared to loss of life. For example, if you volunteered, or if you went to sign up contract, and if you died in a battle, nothing can compensate for your life, obviously, especially for your family and the friends. But it makes you feel a bit comfortable, I guess, when you know that if anything happens, your family will receive some assistance from the state. And it's not just financial assistance, by the way. Russian state is providing, there is many social programs in place for families of the veterans. So state will be next to your family forever, serving the country, serving the public. They, if it was up to me, I will recommend them to sign up contract anyway. But it's them to choose, isn't it? So that's the question, by the way. Majority is signing up. Also significant tens of thousands of people are volunteers. And when it comes to conscription, by the way, conscription continues as usual, but conscripts are not deployed on line of contact. So you're not gonna see on the battlefield conscripts. Conscripts only end up in battle when Kiev regime forces and NATO mercenaries invaded Kursk borderline area, because there were conscripts among border guards, right? And those conscripts were shortly exchanged for Ukrainian POWs and returned to homes, and then probably they will. But conscripts are not participating in a war, in a special military operation. Question also, Levan, please give us your review of the best. This is a specific question about Old Tbilisi, by the way. Oh, dear friend, I'm not in Tbilisi, right? So I have no idea. I have no idea about prices or services like that there. But But if anybody plans to visit Georgia, visit Tbilisi, they're gonna have a good time. I'm quite sure about it. And it's not gonna be for tourists, by the way. It's not gonna be too expensive, really, to travel to Georgia. Tickets, yes, but to stay in Georgia for a week or two, it's tourists always have some budget, isn't it? And Georgia is a wonderful country, by the way. I highly recommend to visit the country. Yes, Michael Kennedy is commenting. There are million plus volunteers who aren't needed. They are not yet in the army. I believe, dear friends, next year probably it will become significantly difficult to join Russian armed forces, because I mean, in 2024 about 500 people joined the army, right? 450,000 signed a contract. Another 40,000+ went as a volunteers. Just how many more people do Russian armed forces need, right? So therefore, I guess in 2025 it will become much more difficult to join Russian armed forces, because probably there will be no need in such a level of newcomers in the army. And therefore, of course, exams will be much stricter, physical exams. You can go through medical exams, for example, but then there will be probably other tests. Did you have their military experience or not? And if you had, okay, you pass, but if you did not, then, you know, sorry. So I think in 2025, hopefully conflict will end itself. And even if not, probably Russian armed forces will receive lesser people than in previous year, because there is no need in such a huge army, isn't it? Buncher Denter is asking, Putin has released memes of US biolabs operating from Africa and soon the list for Ukur 2. I mean, when it comes to biolab, I did not see Putin has released names of US biolabs operating from Africa. Well, I did not see that news, but recently I reported about statements of Russian Foreign Intelligence Service that US is focusing now in terms of this bioactivity on Africa, and they moved some biolabs from Ukraine to Africa, and there are African nations that are allowing US Air Force. Usually these biolabs are operating, I don't know why, but usually they are operating under US Air Force control, direct or indirect. And those African nations should be very careful what they are letting in, because they will struggle to deal with potential consequences of activity of those biolabs. It's a big issue. Georgia, by the way, for example, still did not get rid of US biolab. Why? Because it's not easy, I guess, because otherwise I'm quite sure current leadership of Georgian Dream would be happy to, you know, to no longer see this US biolab in a country, but it is still there. Hangi Mu is commenting, Russia is defeating the imperialists. I will agree, dear friend. I will agree. I will say more. I think Trump's presidency, some may see as a final transformation of US from republic to an empire, right? Many people worldwide see US as an empire anyway. We all know that, isn't it? And at this point, as a failing empire. But when it comes to domestical policies in US, when it comes to state itself, state institutions, and also foreign policy in many ways, I guess we're gonna see significant changes towards from republic towards empire, when decision-making process is being simplified, which means that elements of republic will be less and less in a country, so US will truly become empire. But this is my guess, by the way. I don't know. We will find out soon. But Trump started, quite actively, isn't it? I mean, he already signed up God knows how many decrees, and this is just the beginning. Everyone is confused, isn't it? You share what you think, dear friends, but everyone, as far as I understand, is confused about Trump's decision on foreign aid, right? I was monitoring all day different media sources. I was trying to find out for sure, either aid to Kiev regime is cancelled or not. Sources saying that Ukraine is exception, as Israel and Egypt is difficult to say, what is going on. And there are some diplomats, by the way, I even have prepared the news for you, that US officials are pushing to unfreeze aid for Ukraine, according to Financial Times. So several US diplomats have urged the State Department to make an exception for Ukraine-related programs after President Donald Trump ordered a sweeping suspension on foreign aid. So if these diplomats are asking State Department to make exception for Ukraine, that probably means that these programs no longer being financed, right? Under Trump's after Trump's decision. But at the same time, there is sources that are reporting that no, all their military and financial aid regime by previous administration still in force, and their deliveries continue. So what's going on, you know? Cisco Terrorist is commenting lots of US aid coming in if they allow biolabs, and if the aid gets diverted into offshore accounts, the US gives a wink. Well, it's scary stuff, by the way. Let's be clear here. These biolabs under military control, by the way, what do you think they are doing there? They are working on some bioweapons, in my personal opinion, right? What? Because on vaccines and all other stuff, there is civilian institutions. Why you need the military's control over the biolabs? What? Why militaries are involved? To start with, you know. So it's something dodgy, for sure, and they're extremely dangerous in my personal opinion. And maybe U.S. administration will take care of that also, because, for example, obviously all of you know now that CIA has shifted its or conducted revision on its position in regards to COVID, and now they are saying that that virus escaped from biolab in Wuhan. And that biolab was civilian biolab, right? Although I don't buy it, Ben. It started maybe in Wuhan, but I have my own theory, because a few weeks before first reports about this COVID and stuff, few weeks or maybe months before, there was some event in Wuhan, by the way, and if I remember correctly, police special forces were conducting some some demonstrations. It was a kind of competition between SWAT forces of different countries, right? And according to reports that I see, and this is happening at least several weeks before all that virus story broke up, right? And I noticed this news because it was very strange to me, because according to those reports, almost entire US team, by the way, gets sick. Almost entire US team, right? And end up in hospital and then evacuated. And I mean, is that not strange stuff? These are special forces, right? They're tough as hell, guys. And how come that almost entire team, US, get sick with their virus, and then a few weeks after, there we go, epidemic has started. So I think it was, and because, by the way, if someone, let's dive deep a little bit in this theory. If someone among Western ruling class wanted to conduct some social experiment on the world, right, on the world community, on topics of control and this and that, and they conducted quite a lot of experiments, by the way, isn't it? By forcing people to take untested vaccines, and by keeping people indoors, and there were so many experiments conducted during that. And if someone among Western ruling class knew that in Wuhan laboratory there was a tests conducted on a particular virus, obviously US was financing those works, by the way, through Fauci, right? This is also objective information, we know about it. So samples of those viruses were in hand. Use this virus and that US police SWAT team or whatever it was to start spreading of this virus. This is a wild theory. I get that, but I think it does much more sense to me personally than to believe that top security biolab somehow managed to release virus, man. I don't know. It seems more realistic to me that some other ways were used to spread this virus in Wuhan, and then because everyone knew, everyone that informed knew that there was biolab in Wuhan, finger could be pointed out on that laboratory. And that's exactly what happened, right? And now even CIA is saying that, you know what, it was Wuhan laboratory. I don't buy that, man. It was some other very dodgy story, by the way. And Western ruling class was behind it, in my personal opinion. Maybe one day some independent journalists will conduct some investigation, because it is a interesting story, isn't it? To find out what really happened, though. What really happened. Dear friends, sorry if I missed your question. A bunch of dentists are commenting. Some US reports that on YouTube state that due to fentanyl is increasing by the day more than COVID. Well, it is an epidemic in US, isn't it? Of a drug epidemic. It was a opium epidemic or opioids epidemic. Now it's a fentanyl. These synthetic drugs that are killing people, and US have to deal with it, by the way, obviously, and now some experts, some channels are even some officials, public figures are basically talking about potential war on drug cartels that US may start, and I don't know if it's even possible. After all, Mexico is a different country, and if US conducts any military operation on Mexico's territory, then that should be coordinated with Mexico, right? With the government of Mexico. But yes, it is possible that we will see some military operations of US in Mexico to deal with these drug cartels that are flooding US with these drugs and killing US citizens, basically. But simultaneously, obviously, some social programs have to be in place. So many reforms have to be done, including in the sphere of pharmacy, because many drug addicts become dependent by starting using first some prescription drugs, isn't it? In US, it's just too easy to get dependent on those prescription drugs, because if you have bad mood, by the way, you go to see psychologist. First, what the psychologist probably will do is will give you some prescription to drink some drugs, man. And you one day you are realizing that you are dependent on those drugs, and if you're no longer able to receive prescription, then what you're gonna do? Some people will try to deal with it some other ways, but many people may end up using drugs, right, from the streets. And that's how I believe pharmaceutics is to be blamed for this drug epidemic in US. It's their fault, right? It's their crime against humanity and against US citizens, first of all. Those pharmacy companies, man. They make tens of billions, probably hundreds of billions, and meanwhile they kill also millions of people. Medical institutions pharmacy should be controlled strictly, and people should not be able to get their hands on heavy drugs just because they feel some frustration and bad mood. Come on, man, deal with this life. Who told you that life is sugar, man? You cannot take some antidepressants as if like sweets, man. It's a serious drugs, isn't it? Francis Sanchez is commenting military war games in August in Wuhan, China. Those US soldiers brought it from USA, from Fort Detrick. Well, I don't know. I mean, it definitely needs to be investigated, right? Some independent journalistic works needs to be conducted. I have questions. Many other members of our community have questions, right? And I mean, unfortunately, I have no financial or technical means to conduct such an investigation, but we definitely deserve some answers, true answers, right? Because I think Western ruling class conducted their biggest ever social experiment on humanity. That's what it was, right? And meanwhile, they kill so many people. As if they care, but as a fact, they kill so many people in the process, isn't it? And destroy so many lives. So definitely humanity. Will we have those answers? I don't know. Hang Mio is commenting, Dr. Rashid Buttar, former US Army Green Beret doctor, was exposed in COVID. He was poisoned by US government in a restaurant in 2023. He died RIP. Well, I don't know this story, but I take your word for it. I mean, this stuff has to be investigated. We all agree on that. Sorry, dear friends, if I miss any question. Because I question, Venture Dent is asking, Trump administration has stated that PTNR status given to China will be withdrawn. Well, when it comes to China-US relationships, we should expect a significant deterioration, isn't it? I don't know PTNR, what that stands for. Let me partner communication. Oh, no, I don't know what that stands for, but I guess we will all agree that under Trump's administration, relationships between US and China will deteriorate significantly because you know, Western ruling class sees China as a main competitor, right? They have to deal with it, and the longer this conflict, longer they continue proxy war against Russia, by the way, more stronger they're gonna make China, isn't it? They're gonna weaken US, and some experts already are saying, by the way, that in certain weapon systems, US almost completely destroyed its stockpiles by sending those weapon systems to Kiev regime. Not all of it, obviously, but in certain weapon systems, US emptied its stockpiles. Right? Did it make US more vulnerable? Obviously did, isn't it? And now we have a new head of Pentagon, Hexet, isn't it, his surname, who is stating that he will do whatever it takes to make US Army great again, and to further strengthen their military-industrial complex, which probably means that defense spendings under the Trump will definitely not just reach trillion, but will be much higher than $1 trillion a year, and more money will go to defense industry in US. But yet again, I don't think that will help much to really strengthen US military capabilities, because I mean, after all, everything US military industrial complex is producing is over engineered, isn't it? And on purpose, because US military industrial complex makes money by selling those weapons to Pentagon, and then makes twice more money on the service of these weapon systems. And something, when you have over-engineered equipment, something is always needs some service, right? So it's a shame, by the way. It's a scam that is used. So you can make budget of Pentagon 1 trillion or I don't know, even more. I don't think that will really influence battle capabilities of US. US barely can build ships now, by the way, and half of its fleets should be retired already. While China is building vessels like hotcakes, right? Just recently, they launched their biggest landing warship, right? And they give it another couple of years, they will, I mean, they're printing these vessels, by the way. And even now, maybe still, if you ask me, I will say strongest navy in this world is definitely US Navy. But give it another 10, 15, 20 years and the balance will shift, right? Only way US really can compete with China on economical or political, if you want to also, or military terms, is to reform itself. It's just too corrupt, by the way. US is just too corrupt, you know. Oh, let me check, by the way, Boosty. Carlos Gaspar, thank you very much for your donation. I just received donation through Boosty from Carlos Gaspar. Thank you very much, and Happy New Year to you too. Thank you. So nowadays I only have Boosty, by the way, for donations, as you know, Boosty and crypto, because PayPal account that I was using, it was a Magda's PayPal account, by the way. Magda is our moderator, as you know. Magda was helping me, and PayPal, for whatever reason, blocked her account without any explanations, without nothing, you know. They just blocked it, which is crazy, but, you know. And I asked my relatives to make another account. At least I would use it for time being, before that new one will get blocked, but they were unable to make PayPal account in Georgia. I don't know why. Either US is preparing some sanctions, financial sanctions on Georgia, because I find it strange that my relative was unable to create PayPal account in Georgia, by the way, Georgian citizen. But anyways, maybe it was some glitch in the system, and it will work out sometime in the future. I don't know. Let's continue. Nidish Kumar is asking, how will we stop narcotics trade happening in Myanmar to all over Asia? I don't know, dear friend. I don't know. Drugs, if you ask me, drug cartels definitely should be dealt with, you know, with whatever necessary. Everybody who is involved in selling, trading of drugs should be punished as harsh as possible, right? But yet again, we have to address root causes, isn't it? Why? As long as you have demand on something, there will be always someone who will deliver, right? So why is demand? That's our main. I mean, we should address root causes, isn't it? Everywhere in Asia, in US, in Russia, in other European states, root causes. Why people are starting using drugs. Why drugs are, I mean, why they don't have other alternatives in this life, you know, to deal with whatever issues they are dealing, right? I'm quite sure with the proper social reforms, you can help millions of people never to fail to the level that they might, you know, start using drugs. But when it comes to these drug cartels, I have no mercy for them, and in these drug cartels, and they're directly or indirectly are killing millions and millions of people worldwide. No mercy towards those what you call those criminals that sell drugs, man. They should be exterminated, all of them, you know, just kill them all, you know. But same time, I mean, strict rules have to be applied also. Take a look at the Afghanistan, by the way. How come that when you know, under occupation of under Western occupation or under NATO occupation, drug production was highest ever, right? Production of opium was highest ever in history, in recorded history of Afghanistan. And when Taliban took over, there is almost no drug production in Afghanistan, right? They killed it. So somehow it was possible, isn't it? Somehow it was possible. So you have to have a social programs in place to make sure that people will not fail, so that they would not, you know, be attracted to drugs and did not see drugs as escape. So there should be social programs in place, educational programs. There is so much stuff can be done, isn't it? I'm not an expert in this field, but I can come up even with several ideas, and experts definitely can come up with much more. And just, you know, people that are in power should listen to those experts, right? So social programs, educational programs, and also harsh measures against everybody who is involved in drug trafficking, production and the drug trafficking. That's it. Green 44 is asking, what about the atrocities being committed against civilians in Kursk? Why is the Russian government not talking about this? Well, Russian government is, you know, talking about this. Just recently, it was a war crime, obviously, and the Russian military is reported about this. It was documented, these atrocities committed by Kiev regime's forces and NATO mercenaries in Ruskaya Porечная. It's documented. Russian Foreign Ministry made a statement about it. Even UN was addressed, so that UN will make statements also. But one should keep in mind, dear friends, that in the West, media is, I mean, so-called media is under stricter control, isn't it? And they will just not report about it. Kiev regime forces killed dozens and dozens of civilians. It's horrible stories, by the way, right? That happened in the Kursk region. They were killing pregnant women, by the way. I mean, who does that? Who does such an atrocity? I mean, I don't know. Elderly people were executed that pose no threat to nobody, right? And Russian militaries, by the way, that see some stuff in their lives, Russian militaries were horrified from the thing that they find in Ruskaya Porечная settlement, in Kursk salient, when they liberated this village. And everything is documented, by the way, and I'm quite sure Russian security services, Russian special forces will find out one of their criminals, by the way, one of their terrorists of Kiev regime that was involved in mass killing of Russian civilians, or arrested. I read about it yesterday or the day before, I believe, and will most likely Obviously he will be prosecuted, and he will spend entire his life in a prison. And I want to believe that everybody that was involved in these atrocities will be brought to justice. But Russian government is talking about it. But if you are living in a Western country, it is highly likely that you have never heard about any atrocities that Kiev regime committed at all, you know, not just in the Kursk salient, but anywhere. And there are so many instances, isn't it, of crimes against humanity that these Kiev regime forces are committing. Kurachovo, by the way. What about Kurachovo? When Kurachovo was liberated by Russian forces, what they find in the basements of the building? Killed civilians, right? And this is pattern, by the way. That's what they do. That's what Kiev regime forces do, man. They don't consider people that are living in central and eastern Ukraine. They don't see them as humans even. Those neo-Nazis and the fascists, by the way. They've been completely brainwashed to the level of, I don't know, rabid animals, man. They don't see humans as humans. They are killing civilians. They're killing pregnant women. Who can do that? Can human commit such atrocity? I don't think so. If anyone does, I refuse to call that creature human. That's it, man. Oh, Jerry Kogan, thank you very much for your donation. And Jerry Kogan is commented there. Can I remind people that your Rumble channel is monetized there? If you can't afford donation, you can still support the project by playing all of the videos on Rumble. Thank you very much, Jerry. It is monetized, my channel on Rumble. Yes, that's true. So if you can to watch my videos on Rumble, then it will be helpful, obviously. When it comes to YouTube, my channel never gonna get monetized, unfortunately. But you know, thank you, Jerry, for your support. Thank you very much. So that's my answer, dear friend. The Russian side is talking about these crimes, but in the Western so-called media will just ignore it. They will ignore everything that will bring the truth about Kiev regime, right? At least before they will receive authorization from the Western ruling class that, you know what, now you can write the truth. And then they will probably start, yes, questioning Zelensky, his regime, and they will report about atrocities that they committed. Many people in the West, by the way, still until now don't know that Kiev regime was killing civilians in Donbass, for example, since 2014. Many people in the West think that confrontation there started in 2022. That's how ill-informed people are. So what do you expect? And why they are this misinformed? Because of Western so-called media did not report the truth, right? Venture Dent is asking, after an agreement with Ukraine is reached, will Russia give back the land captured? No way, by the way. Russia did not capture nothing. Russia liberated. Russia liberated their historical Russian territory, and Russia liberated people, Russians, right? And obviously, these territories will be Russia forever, as long as Russia exists. So if anybody among Western ruling class, for example, is dreaming about forcing Russia out of these new regions or the territories, by the way, that will become liberated soon, they are mistaken. They are mistaken. After this conflict will end, Ukraine will undergo full-scale disintegration. I have no doubts about that. I spoke about it many times. And Western part of Ukraine will eventually end up under control of NATO, right? And eventually will be probably claimed by Poland or Hungary and Romania. It does make sense, by the way, historically speaking, right? Rest of the Ukraine will either join Russia. Some parts will join Russia, as already did. For example, Crimea is a part of Russia, Zaporozhye. And I believe it is highly likely that Kharkov region, Dnipropetrovsk region, Russian troops are just a few kilometers away from the Dnipropetrovsk region, by the way. So, dear friends, I can see there is too many issues with the internet today. Too many issues with the internet. I apologize for that, but that's what happens when I'm when you do stream through VPN. And yes, if you ask me, I will say, you know what, Kiev should be liberated also, although I acknowledge simultaneously a possibility that during the negotiations, not because between Moscow and Kiev, no, Kiev is not a part of negotiation, Kiev regime. They are assets of the West. They will do whatever they are told to do, right? When true negotiations began between Russia and the Western ruling class, and whoever would represent Western ruling class, Trump or Stammer, Macron, or whoever, right? There might be agreement reached that Kiev and surrounding few regions will maintain quasi-statehood, but in Russian zone of influence, and the rest will join Russia. That's how I see. But yet again, you know, time will tell. But answer is on your question is that Russia will only move forward. There is no way any liberated territories can end up under control of Kiev regime or NATO once agreement is reached. Also, Bencher has a question after it's the same. Is also commenting. Some say that the 2/3 of natural resources are in the Russian liberated Ukraine. Well, Donbass always was rich with natural resources, isn't it? Mainly coal, but also whenever you have coal, you have gas also, right? So if you use fracking technology, you can extract potentially billions of cubic meters of gas, right? Fracking technology does allow this to happen. Also, there is a gas fields also, right? But during the Soviet era and after Soviet Union collapsed, Donbass was known obviously for its coal mines, right? Although it is very rich with some other minerals, including rare earth materials. But yet again, it's a Western approach when they see everything through prism of money. I never thought about liberated territories through prism of money, because that's not how we see the situation. We see situation as Russia is liberating historical Russian territory, right? That's what is happening, by the way. For us, it's about dignity. It's about justice. For the US, by the way, in other hand, or for Western ruling class, it's about some geopolitical stuff. Okay, politics, some geopolitics. They want to harm Russia as much as they can. And by doing so, they are indirectly harming themselves, but they are probably so stupid that they still don't understand that. But okay, that's a whole different story. And also in the West, Western so-called elites, they see Ukraine as a just a land, as true prism of money. And this Lindsey Graham, how many times he spoke about these trillions and trillions of dollars that is underground there in Eastern Ukraine, or generally in this former Soviet Republic when it comes to natural resources. Nobody, by the way, I mean, not just for the last 3 years, but ever, by the way, I never heard anybody here in Russia were speaking in terms of money. You know how much money is in ground in that region. In that region, we just don't see it that way, you know. And whatever riches those liberated territories have, of course, it will serve locals, local population, right? But for us, it's about justice. For the West, it's about damaging Russia and making money, by the way. For the Western ruling elites, it's almost always about money and power, isn't it? But yes, Eastern Ukraine is historically, it's known historically, right, that it is very rich in all sorts of resources, but mainly these regions were known for its coal industry, right? Coal reserves. Connie then is commenting, Fauci's pardon is already being challenged in the Fifth Circuit Court on their way to Supreme Court. If Biden was to diminish to stand the trial, he was too diminished to issue pardons. Yes, that was a very strange stuff, isn't it? Also, that Fauci was pardoned in advance. I mean, what the hell, man? I did not even knew that that kind of stuff can be done, by the way. Honestly, when Biden pardoned his son for potential future charges, I mean, I was surprised. I mean, really? Is that even possible? It seems like it is. In US, yes. I mean, system is so corrupt, by the way, there that anything is possible, you know? And Biden pardoned Fauci and there are a number of other individuals, isn't it? Which is crazy, by the way, which is crazy. But yet again, I mean, if Trump's administration will conduct thorough investigation, I mean, that would be a great service, not just for US, obviously, but also for the rest of the world. If true professional investigation will be conducted and if we will find out in what dealings Fauci and the rest of the criminals from Biden's administration were involved, and they were involved in quite dodgy stuff, isn't it? And Trump saying it's not random stuff that Trump is saying that all these people, Fauci's and the rest of them, they make quite good money. I watched video. He knows something, isn't it? He was talking about removing security, right? After removing security clearance from Fauci and the rest of the people from Biden's administration, they lost their security protection also. And journalists were asking Trump if you will feel responsible for if anything happens to them. And Trump says no. I mean, why should he feel responsible for Fauci, for God's sake, man? Come on, right? And why should US taxpayers pay for Fauci's security? What the hell, man? Why? And it's like 20,000 a day or something, isn't it? It's not a cheap security, right? And Trump was saying that they make a lot of money and they can afford security, private security if they want to. So how they make this much money? They were involved in some dodgy stuff, man. Obviously. Nidish Kumar is commenting, Levan, they asked for military bases in African countries in exchange for vaccines. That how this people mind works. I mean, that's their example, isn't it? That's the example that they are corrupt. You know, those people that are pulling the strings in the West, they are mentally corrupt. They are mentally corrupt. They don't operate in a way that we do, ordinary people. We have some morale, some principles. Kindness, it means something for us, right? Dignity, justice. For them, it means nothing. They talk about it a lot, right? But their actions show that they don't really care about any of it, right? And what you are saying is prime example, isn't it? That to save people, They were demanding something from them. Come on, man, if you can save people, just do it. You know. I missed some questions, quite sure about it, but still, by the way, we have good conversation, isn't it? Jerry Kogan is commenting, if NATO countries absorb West Ukraine and Russia absorbs everything up to the Dnieper, that still leaves the problem that NATO is standing on the Russia's border. Surely, well, NATO is on Russian border anyway, even before Ukrainian crisis started, right? Poland is bordering Russia, and let's go through map. So Poland is bordering Russia, right? In the Kaliningrad region area. So this is Kaliningrad, right? Which is isolated from Russia, but it is obviously Russia. And Poland is bordering it. Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia, NATO member states. Lithuania has no border with Russia, but Latvia and Estonia does. Now Finland is a NATO member state, so there is a border with Finland also. NATO, and when it comes to Black Sea, by the way, all these countries on the Black Sea, Bulgaria, Romania, Turkey, they are NATO member states also, right? Greece. Greece is not on the Black Sea, but anyways, right? Not far away. These are NATO member states also. So obviously NATO will relatively improve its positions, militarily speaking, if Western Ukraine will become under control of their NATO, but Russia will also improve its defensive positions, right? Russia will also improve significantly its defensive positions. This is also argument to make, and then, dear friends, Western Ukraine is sort of birthplace of Ukrainian Nazism and fascism. And I don't have some statistics on my hand, but I would not be surprised at all if majority in Western Ukraine, if majority there actually, influenced, let's say this way, influenced with this Nazi ideology and fascist ideology, and sees, for example, Bandera, Shukhevich, and the rest of their criminals, mass murderers that cooperate with Nazi Germany as heroes. I would not be surprised at all if majority in Western Ukraine thinks that those Banderas and the rest of the Banderites are the heroes. And I don't think Russia really needs to deal with this issue, right? It's not going to be easy, by the way. Russia can, technically speaking, establish control over the Western Ukraine also, but does Russia really need to deal with all those psychos there? No, I don't think so. Let Poland deal with them. Let Poland deal with them. And they will. And by the way, Poland will deal with them. You cannot imagine how harshly. It's going to be war, by the way, in Western Ukraine. It's not going to be easy work for NATO troops. They're going to occupy Western Ukraine with force. Because initially they might receive with applause, right? But once these Nazis will realize that, you know what, these Poles want to be in charge here, right? Oh, they will start resisting, and they will start conducting terrorist attacks on Poland, on Polish soil, right? They might start attacking Romania also. With Hungary, it's a little bit different story because Transcarpathia area, there predominantly Hungarians are living, right? Ethnic Hungarians. And some of them definitely are brainwashed, and some of them are thinking that they are Ukrainians now. One of the founders, by the way, of Right Sector, Ukrainian fascist organization, is actually ethnic Hungarian. I mean, you might be surprised, but I forgot his surname, by the way. But one of the founders of Right Sector, this Nazi organization in Ukraine that was actively used by the West during 2014 coup d'etat. This founder is ethnic Hungarian, but he thinks that he is a Ukrainian, not just Ukrainian, but he's a Ukrainian Nazi. He hates everybody, right? So Hungary will also have some issues, obviously, with the Transcarpathia, but not as much as Poland will, or the Romania. So, let them deal with this situation. By the way, and yet again, historically speaking, it does, I mean, these territories used to be part of Poland, Hungary, and Romania, right? Romania may have some issues that, they might want more territories from former Ukraine, parts of Odessa region, for example, that also used to be part of Romania, by the way. But, Russia may find it difficult to, achieve some agreement there, probably entire Odessa region, probably coastal line of Odessa region will be liberated and will be under full Russian control. But on the northern side, some territories definitely can and most likely will join Romania. But yes, let them deal with it, by the way. I mean, why should Russia spend their more resources and their more time to deal with them? Russia is denazifying Kiev regime, demilitarizing Kiev regime. Russia is liberating more and more territories that are historically Russian territories, right? But when it comes to these western parts, you know what? Let Poland deal with it. They can do it. I'm quite sure many Polish people will not be that keen to get engaged because they know it's gonna be mess there. It's gonna be big mess, right? If members of our community from Poland can confirm, I mean, relationships, by the way, between Poles and these Ukrainian Nazis never was good, by the way. Poles hate them too, right? Because these Ukrainian Nazis, they killed about 100,000 Poles during the Second World War. And people in Poland remembers that. Many people. Maybe Polish government don't want to remember it, but ordinary people do remember. And they are not happy that Warsaw is actually supporting those Nazis, descendants of those Nazis that committed those atrocities, not just against Polish people, also against Jewish people, Gypsies, against Belarusians, against Russians, against everybody. They were killing people that were considering themselves Ukrainians. They were killing those people also if they were opposing their atrocities. Nidish Kumar is commenting, Levan, Ukraine will use water as a weapon by blocking its flow. Where? From where? Russia will, only Western Ukraine will end up under NATO control. Rest of the territory will be completely liberated. And as I said, from Kharkiv to Odessa, everything will join Russia, most likely. Kiev surrounding few regions may maintain statehood on a political map, like quasi-statehood, but in Russian zone of influence. So, there will be no Ukraine, basically. Ukraine that we knew. It will be something different and definitely not hostile to Russia. If such an entity will still exist on the political map after this conflict will end, there is no way Russia will allow Ukraine to exist under Western control. It's just not happening. Because obviously it's going to be constant struggle, constant threats, constant issues, right? So, there are certain topics that Russia cannot compromise on. And Russia's national security interests, security of Russian citizens, obviously is a foundation on which Russian president and other leaders will base their policies during the negotiations, if negotiations will take place, and probably they will. So Ukraine, Kiev regime basically was using water as a weapon against Crimea while they were in charge of this waterway, right? From the Dnieper to Crimea, but that channel is under Russian control now. You know, point is that after Kiev regime destroyed that dam, when Kiev regime destroyed the dam on the Dnieper River, obviously water level in this reservoir dropped significantly, right? I mean, this is water reservoir on the bank of which also Energodar and Zaporozhye nuclear power plant is located. And I believe that channel that was supplying with water Crimea, that channel was starting somewhere here in this Kakhovka water reservoir. But when Kiev regime destroyed the dam, Kakhovka dam, it was 2022 or 2023. 2023, isn't it? Water significantly dropped in Kakhovka water reservoir, and I don't know now how full that water channel is from reservoir to Crimea, but I did not see any news, by the way, in the media that Crimea is experiencing any water shortages. So probably there is enough water supply from reservoir itself and from other sources in Crimea. But yes, there was an instance when Kiev regime was actually using water as a weapon against Crimea. But they will never have such opportunity again. That's not happening. Jerry Kogan is commenting, what is the popular opinion in Odessa about rejoining Russia? Who controls its local government just now? Are they honest or corrupt? Oh, well, Odessa region, by the way, at one point, former Georgian president Saakashvili was governor there. It's corrupt as hell. Authorities there are corrupt as rest of the territory that is controlled by Kiev regime. No doubts about that. But when it comes to people, by the way, there is so many videos, even now, so many videos of resistance of ordinary people. There is in Odessa region, there is a armed resistance, pro-Russian armed resistance that quite actively operates, but also ordinary citizens, by the way, they are demonstrating resistance. You know how? For example, by speaking Russian, for example, by listening Russian music. And despite the terror, by the way, despite many examples when people were punished for speaking in Russian, for listening to Russian music, or to be engaged in any activity that is one way or another connected with Russia, even if you are watching Russian movies, you might be punished for that, right? But there is more and more instances, isn't it? Young people, by the way, just recently there was videos, isn't it, that young people in Odessa beat up Ukrainian Nazis, militaries, Ukrainian Nazi militaries in a city center, right? Young people, by the way, they just smashed them. So that's the answer. Obviously, one may argue that majority still keeps head down and they don't want any problems, right? But it's a Russian city. It's a Russian Jewish city, right? And it will not change. It will not change. It will stay this way, right? And obviously, I'm 100% convinced, by the way, locals will be happy, very happy, when Russia will liberate Odessa. And it will be liberated, by the way. It will be liberated. Buncherdent is asking, do you think that exchange for a hostage by IDF is a staged one, as those released say they were in a Red Cross shelter? I don't know, dear friend. I don't know. I'm happy that there is a truth in a region. People will have a break, isn't it? People will have a little break. It's a hell. We cannot even imagine through what people went there. We cannot even imagine. It's total horror, isn't it? And this little break that they have now is definitely something that is said that people from Gaza Strip should be sent to Egypt and Jordan or something. I mean, something is. I don't have a good feeling, by the way. I'm afraid. Once Israeli side will receive all the hostages, Netanyahu will use any extra military operation again, and then probably Netanyahu's regime will try to force out all the Palestinians, or majority, out of the region into Egypt, because that's only Egypt that they can go to, right? On one side is the Mediterranean, on the other side is Israel, and on the southern side it's border with Egypt. And once Netanyahu's regime will complete that, and if they are not stopped, they will. Probably it will not take long before they will start doing the same in the West Bank, and they will force local Palestinians in Jordan from their article, according to which US is already conducting talks with Egypt and Jordan to receive people from Palestine. So, I mean, I'm happy that people in Palestine had some break right now, but I'm not confident that this peace will hold, unfortunately. I would love to see long-standing peace there, but it's just it don't seems realistic to me. Most likely Netanyahu and his regime will try to use, they will try to force Palestinians out of those territories, Gaza Strip and the West Bank, and US will help them. US will help Netanyahu and his regime. I have no doubts about it. Probably you already know that Trump already lifted their restriction on transfer of 2,000-pound bombs to Israel. So Israel is receiving a hell lot of weapons right now. And they are preparing, and once they will receive all the hostages, most likely Netanyahu will start the war again. I want to be wrong on that, but Jerry Kogan is asking, will Russia connect to Transnistria with a land bridge before the conflict ends? I guess that will be in negotiation. Sometimes when I think about future developments in zone of special military operation, I think once agreement will be reached between Russia and Western ruling class, Kiev regime's forces probably will withdraw from without any fight, most likely, from majority of territories of the Nikolaev region, Odessa region, Dnipropetrovsk region, and parts of Kharkov region that still under Kiev controlled territory, and Russian troops will just enter these areas without fighting. And once Odessa region is controlled by Russia, obviously Transnistria will have a direct link to Russia at that point. But if you ask me, I don't think there will be military operations inside Odessa or Kharkov or Dnipropetrovsk. No, most likely Kiev regime will capitulate, and Kiev regime's forces, remnants of the Kiev regime forces, will withdraw from certain territories, including from Nikolaev and Odessa regions, and that's how probably Russia will establish control over these areas. Maybe, not maybe, but most likely after active phase of military operations or hostilities are ended, there will be the referendums, by the way, in these regions, and people there will have opportunity to make up their minds and decide, do they want to be part of this Nazi fascist entity that will remain at that point mainly in Western Ukraine, or they want to join Russia. And I'm 100% convinced they will decide to join Russia. Obviously, man, obviously. In my mind, there is no question about that. You know, so yes, definitely there will be land connection between Transnistria and Russia, and I guess Transnistria itself will most likely join Russia at some point. Most likely. And maybe not just Transnistria, but some other parts of Moldova also, because I'm quite sure Moldova is destined to undergo full-scale disintegration. Gagauzia is not staying in Moldova, and some other territories also. So probably they will, together with Transnistria, they will join Russia. It's gonna be a process. It's going to be a process, isn't it? It will take time, years, but eventually that's how it's gonna be, I guess. Nidish Kumar is commenting, Luan, what are these criminals now trying to do in Slovakia? Does West need to bring back capital punishment? Well, Slovakia is, by the way, you know that there is a row between Zelensky and the Prime Minister of Slovakia now, isn't it? There is diplomatic row between Kiev and Bratislava. And West, obviously, Western ruling class wants to destabilize Slovakia and conduct regime changer, and they are using assets from Kiev regime. And Slovakia's prime minister also, by the way, I believe, stated that Kiev regime is involved in destabilizing Slovakia. And not just Kiev regime, but some other forces also. He did not specify it's West or whatever, but obviously it's not aliens, right? And so, yes, Slovakia is under attack. And I mean, I hope government will withstand this pressure, but it is also possibility that these Western controlled assets will manage to overthrow government there. I mean, you know, so Slovakia is definitely on the crossroads. I will say Hungary also, by the way. Right now, if you ask me, I will tell you that Georgia is still on the crossroads because of the activity of Western controlled, their so-called NGOs and their political opposition and their so-called media. Slovakia definitely is on the crossroads now, and Hungary is also under the risk, under big risk. So maybe in next several weeks or months we will see some disturbances in Hungary also. After all, there should be some reason why Orban did not visit the US during the inauguration, isn't it? He was one of the biggest supporters of the Trump in Europe, and he did not visit Washington for inauguration. Why? Maybe something is happening. He knows something, He knows that the US Secret Services are actively involved to deal with the independent forces, pro-Hungarian forces in that country, and he is not happy about it. And that's why, in my personal opinion, he did not. That may be one of the reasons, not only reason, but that may be one of the reasons why he relationships between him and Trump kind of cooled down a bit. Michael Holloway is asking, might the US force the ceasefire to continue until Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and Jordan normalize with Israel? Might the US force their ceasefire to continue until Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and I mean, US can do it if US is really serious about ceasefire. obviously Washington has enough leverage in the region to enforce ceasefire, right? But will they do it? That's the question. Will they? I have some doubts. The US is talking about moving 1.5 million people out of Gaza Strip, which is ethnic cleansing. No matter which way you will, look at it. I mean, it's ethnic cleansing, isn't it? So that means that there is some plans in place, some plans in the works that is not necessarily about peace. And let's be clear, I don't think Israeli leadership really cares about diplomatic relationships or the normalization of the relationships with Egypt or Jordan or Saudi Arabia. I really don't think they care. Egypt is under full control of US, right? And Egypt is cooperating with Israel. There might be some strong statements here and there on both sides, but Egyptian leadership is cooperating with Israel since their last war, actually, right? For decades now. What about Jordan, by the way? Jordan is a royal family of Jordan, current king, by the way. He is a British, isn't it? How he ended up being the king in Jordan, man? He is a, just ordinary Brit, I will say, with some Arab roots maybe, but still, I mean, he was implemented, his family, I mean, not him personally, his father first, isn't it? Or whatever the case there. These Husseins were, put in power in Jordan by British elites. Am I correct on that? And people don't really like them. As far as I understand, locals don't really like this. Especially because of Jordan didn't really do much to help Palestinians, right? But yet again, Jordan is under full Western control. And when it comes to Saudi Arabia would sign with Israel any deal, by the way. Saudi Arabia is also under a huge influence of Western ruling class, but simultaneously, very same West understands that they need Saudi Arabia as a sort of leader in the Islamic world, right? So that they are trying to use Saudi Arabia to manipulate with their other countries. They want Saudi Arabia to maintain its weight as a leading country in the Sunni world, at least. Although Saudi Arabia being challenged by Turkey nowadays, right? For position of leader, but still. And that's why, by the way, Saudi Arabia did not yet have all the relationships or good relationships with Israel. That's the only reason. Because for the West, current situation is more profitable. Once Saudi Arabia will sign agreements with Israel, well, Riyadh will struggle to maintain a position of leading force in the Muslim world. Especially nowadays when Turkey is occupying Syria, right? There is a Turkish-controlled regime in Syria, which means that Turkey is indirectly on the border with Israel, right? And theoretically speaking, one day in the future, Turkey may become a main military threat for Israel. Maybe it is already main military threat for Israel. It's very complicated, isn't it? And this is just surface, by the way. We just scratching the surface here, right? So I don't know. I would love to see peace there, by the way, but in this former Soviet Republic, Ukraine, civil war inside the Russian world, and I hope Middle East will finally enjoy peace. I mean, long-lasting peace. Many thanks to all the members of our community who will watch this update later on. Sorry for some technical issues, dear friends. This is not up to me. And well, I hope you will also find this conversation interesting. Thank you all. Have a wonderful day, and see you tomorrow. Bye for now.